One of the most important things in life for health might also make people the most unhappy to hear because they perceive it as impossible to achieve. While it's not impossible, it is certainly very hard, especially in some places. That thing is love, because in certain places, like California, for example, people have been brainwashed to believe that it's not that important. Meanwhile, that couldn't be further from the truth from reality because it's incredibly important. Might even be accurate to go as far as to say that you cannot be healthy without love, that it is necessary for our survival, at least in a healthy state. Lack of love, and I don't mean friends and family, those are certainly important and good to have, but lack of a person you love, your wife or your husband who also loves you, like love, it's a connection, it's not a one-way thing. Forgot what I was gonna say. But yeah, lack of this destroys the mind, causing mental illness, physical health problems. It poisons people. And when enough people are brainwashed to believe that it's really not that important, it makes it very hard, even if you do realize that it's important, to find someone who you can be with. I always feel so lucky that I met my wife, and I feel so lucky that I can live in Belarus. And if I didn't have my wife, I would certainly want to be in a place like Belarus, where you can actually find love. Because it's an incredibly underrated thing. Not to be repetitive, but perhaps the most important thing in life in general, but also for your health. People think about vitamins and diet. That's important. Of course, you need those things. But even if you have those things, you might not be able to be healthy without a person you love. It's a beautiful thing that some places you can actually find love because the people are looking for it because they realize it's important. It's a truly evil, sad, miserable thing that destroys people when they are in a society where people don't think it's important. That they think it's more important to get a certain job, a certain title, to get a new car. It wears down on people's soul. A life without love is meaningless. Now, of course, you can do great things, you can develop things that help people, but it's a big mistake to neglect finding a person you love. And that's why I recommend all the guys I know to go to somewhere like Belarus, because there you can actually find love. Here, there's not many people for it. People are too screwed up and don't prioritize it. You need someone that's actually going to value it. Someone who wants to be in a connection of love. Yeah, California has great things like the weather, the nature, good access to a lot of different good high quality foods. But it's missing one very, very important thing, and that is love. And without that, all the other stuff doesn't matter. So maybe you can go somewhere else and you can find love and you can move back here. But even to be around other people who don't have love and who are miserable, that poisons you. That's why I feel so lucky to live in Belarus, where people are mentally and physically healthy, in large because they have love. This is a sick society, California. Of course, I love my family here. I like the nature and the weather, but it's a sick society to be a part of and to be surrounded by. I would go as far to say that it's incompatible with life. It just doesn't work. The result is miserable people who sometimes think they have it all because they have a big job, but they don't have the things that are truly important. With love, you can deal with the hardships of life, the suffering, no matter how big or how small. But without it, the suffering and the hardships of life just drive you crazy. Why should you even endure them, you might think, if you don't have love? It makes people miserable. Because life is always work, and it's generally hard. But when you have love, you can deal with it. You have a good reason to do it. Many years ago, I thought that it's the best motivator to work hard in life. Some people criticized me, actually. Said that it's not a good enough reason. That you need to find it within yourself or something. But I think that the true reason to work hard is for yourself and the person you love. You don't want to go through life alone. And you know that. We all know it instinctually. It's just when you think you can't possibly get it, many people start to try to convince themselves that it's not actually the problem. But I can feel it when I'm here. It's a big, big problem. It's amazing how evident it is. And I can feel it as well because I'm away from my wife. Like, even if she was with me, I could observe it. But to feel being apart from her and see this and feel this society here makes it very evident. And there are places where you can find love, where the people still realize it's important. People getting married when they're teenagers or 20 years old, having kids in their early 20s. It's amazing how sorry, my back's just hurting me. It's amazing how that's looked down upon in a lot of Western places like California. It's crazy, but it's actually looked down upon by many people to get married when you're a teenager or 20 years old and to want to start a family. You're perceived as crazy. You should go to school, which of course here people stay in school until they're well past the age that they should be getting married. Then after school, people immediately focus on work so much that they don't focus on getting married or starting a family. Financial success is the only one that's valued here. And it couldn't be so wrong. and so harmful to humans. It's just not how we're meant to be. The sad thing is, even if you realize it, if you're surrounded by a whole bunch of people who don't, it's going to be very, very hard to find. It's an incredibly effective poison to rob people of love. Yet people here's minds are full of fear, stress, unhappiness, desire for money, but not desire, not value for love. And life is empty without that. I think it's actually the cause of a lot of health issues, especially mental health issues, which can transform into physical health issues. Keeps a lot of people sick. And if you think about how much it's perpetuated to not value having a wife or husband who you love and who loves you, sure seems like there's a desire for people to be sick. And make no mistake, it makes people sick. I'm sure you can feel it, but it does. There's a lot of things that make people sick here. It's just impossible to fully explain. There's just something wrong about this place. And people are sick. And objectively, you see it if you look at what happens in America. Like, I love this country, but the fact that people are getting shot up every day, like, that's proof that there's something wrong with people. It's not because there's guns, it's because there's something wrong with the people. People here are sick. Like, really sick. The driving forces here are so self-destructive. Whereas in a place like Belarus, the driving forces of the area are towards a healthy life with love. To find a person you love and have a family. I don't mean that you have to have kids right away, but like, that's the driving force of nature there. People find love and have a family. And that's a much more lifeful driving force than the one here. The driving force here is like death. Yeah, this stuff is real. I hope you like the video. Hope you don't think it sounds crazy. It's very hard to see if you have only lived here or a place like it. But if you go somewhere else for a sizable amount of time, and then you come back, especially after you found love, you will see that there's something very wrong in this place and places like it. You cannot miss it. It's so obvious and easy to see and feel. Oh, please like and subscribe. Not to ruin the end of the video, but it helps me out. Doesn't cost you anything. It can help me someday. I'm just a human too who also needs money. I mean, that's the honest truth. Like, it doesn't cost you anything if you click that button and someday YouTube sends me money. Sure would be nice for me, and it costs you nothing but a couple of seconds.